Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today we got a cool video for you. Some of you guys have probably already seen this. It's publicly available online, and we'll link it in the description down below. But it is a PDF file that was made following the speed tests that were conducted on USS Iowa in the 1980s. And it's really interesting because they compare and contrast Iowa's speed trials with New Jersey's speed trials from 1943, which is really cool for them. And you can hear them geeking out in the report. So it's really cool for us as historians to sit here and read this. And it's really interesting, especially in the context of SS United States just being towed out of Philadelphia. And, you know, that's a ship that never got up to its full speed. So we have no idea how fast she could go. And really, that's true for the other Iowa-class battleships, too. None of them had a formal speed trial where they were able to get up to their full speed. Battleship New Jersey had not one of these formal put on by the Taylor Test Basin folks speed trials, but like an unofficial speed trial where she got up to 35.2 knots. And that's with one of her four main engines being 1/100th of an inch out of spec, the gearing in of the reduction gears. And so it's interesting seeing if this ship with an imperfect engineering plant got up to that. Did one of the other Iowas have a better plant? Could they have gone even faster potentially? But SS United States never goes her full speed. They intentionally didn't want to crank it up to full speed during her initial voyage for two reasons. One, new crew, and they didn't want to push them to the limits the first time around. They wanted them to get some practice and then do it in the future. And two, Cunard Line had Queen Elizabeth doing the run as well, and they really wanted to start the race for the Blue Riband so they could start building hype for the vessel. So they wanted to crank it up just high enough that they won the Blue Riband, and then, but not so high that another ship couldn't take it back or another ship would be built to take it back, and then they could come back out the next week and just crank that throttle open a little bit higher. And as it turned out, didn't happen. The end of ocean liners like that came to an end, and they just never got the chance to open her up to full throttle. Very different reason why the Iowas never got to do this. So part of what the folks at the David Taylor Research Center were geeking out about is this is like one of the very first times, possibly one of the only times, that they're getting to do first-in-class trials of the same class of ships twice. Because the Iowas get new fuel types in the 1980s, they wanted to run a second test. Their displacement has been changed, they've removed some stuff, they've added some stuff. So they want to do a second speed test and check the efficiency of the new fuel and all of this and redo all their numbers because they haven't been done since the 40s. And while they're doing that, they can then also evaluate, well, how effective was this older method that we used? So this paper, in addition to talking about the methodology that they used in the 80s, also does a really great deep dive into the methodology of what was done in the 40s. Another interesting thing about this, the lead ship is not used for trials in either event. So Iowa, of course, is the lead ship of the class. She is the first one commissioned in 1943, but it's not her that goes out for trials. She does like regular builder's trials and what's not, and goes back for repairs, and those modifications are included in the other Iowas as they're under construction. So it's when New Jersey is completed a few months later that she is actually taken out and goes up to Rockland, Maine in October of '43 to run her speed trials. And so they just do one speed trial for the entire class, not for each individual ship. Likewise, in the 1980s, New Jersey is the first one reactivated, but she's then being sent over to the Philippines, and then to Nicaragua, and then to the Mediterranean for Beirut. And so if they had even planned to use her for these sorts of trials, because of all the conflicts going on that she's being rushed from hotspot to hotspot to hotspot, they ended up not doing it. And then when Iowa is brought into commission, they take her in August of 1985. So they go to the Hector Range, which is the Hatteras East Coast Tracking Offshore Range. Again, that's August 1985. So about 40 years after they first ran these tests. And so completely different methodologies. Again, go through and read that report. Maybe we'll make a future video and talk about the methodologies used. It was just really interesting seeing. The other really interesting parallel is in both instances, there was some sort of equipment failure. It's not specifically elaborated what the failures were, but the power plants on Iowa-class battleships are supremely complex, and they're just all sorts of subsystems that all have to be running at the same time for the ship to get up to top speed. And in both instances, they had at least one piece of equipment fail that prevented them from getting up to top speed. It's interesting with New Jersey, she's a brand new ship in '43, but she's got a brand new crew, so they aren't experienced on the system. When Iowa comes around and does it in '85, this is about a year after she's placed back in commission, so her crew has some experience, but her equipment is not brand new anymore. It's been largely rehabbed, but it is still 40-year-old equipment. And so maybe the fact that only one piece of equipment failed should be enough. So in both instances, they get her up to like 90% of full power, and then are able to, from there, do their curve calculations. And this has, if you like charts and graphs, you've come to the right place. This PDF has some real old-timey Ditto machine charts and graphs that you can look at of how they're plotting out their speed and fuel tables and turning radiuses and things like that. So it's interesting to me that they never did a formal trial where they got these ships up to speed, and it's really cool that in Vietnam in 1968, the work that was done on New Jersey in the Philadelphia Navy Yard when New Jersey was already 25 years old was good enough that they were able to get her up to full power and maintain that for 8 hours and attain that high speed of 35.2 knots, a record which will remain unbeaten by battleships throughout history. It's unfortunate that SS United States never attained her top speed, so that we just are left guessing that it would probably have been somewhere in the low 40-knot range. But it was really interesting seeing that methodology and how that methodology changed over time. And we'll probably do another video about that some point in the future, if you guys ask for it nicely. Let us know in the comment section down below if that's something that you're interested in. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. It allows us to do research like this to find out more about the ship's history. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.